She's pressing her palm onto the piece of paper, making her mark. I ask her to give it a title. She grabs her paintbrush and she writes in all caps, "I need a hand." Let me back up. She's 14 years old, and earlier that day, she came into my office crying. Head hanging low, she's disappointed. She had hurt herself again. She understands the cycle, but she was still stuck. So I set out a large sheet of white paper. She chooses paint. I say, let's just explore alternative options to self-harm using lines, shapes, and colors. Now, we had discussed this at length, but this time it was big paper, bright colors, and no rules. She starts out small and slow, cautious. A mark here and a mark there. She's then making large movements with her brushstrokes. Guess what happens? Her breathing slows. Her shoulders drop, and she's leaving it all on the page. We talk about all that she can do with her hands, other than self-harm. Create, hold someone's hand, or even ask for help. She's rewriting the story of what her hands are for. She's now 17 years old. She hasn't self-harmed since that day. And she didn't need better coping skills. And she didn't need more insight. She needed a way to let her body speak. I grew up in a small storybook town known for beautiful homes, great schools, and tree-lined streets. And from the outside, everything looked perfect. But trauma doesn't care where you come from. I learned early on it wasn't safe to feel, so my body disconnected from my mind. And ever since I was younger, I was hoarding art supplies and creating an imaginary world where I had control. Because inside my home, there was abuse, mental illness, and chaos. And inside my body, there was fear. When I was younger, I barely spoke, but my body was screaming. Hives, anxiety, stomach issues, emotions I was shoving down for years. And by college, I'm pretending, I'm hiding, I'm drinking, and I'm escaping. I'm trying to drown out the noise. I have migraines and nightmares, and I'm surrounded by people, and I'm still alone. I'm suffering in silence. I'm holding on to secrets, and shame consumes me. I need a hand. Art was how I survived, and it was something my body knew intuitively that it needed to do. And it began telling the story long before I could. So, fast forward, I'm young, in love, and road tripping out to California with a guy I barely know to start grad school for art therapy. And spoiler, we get married and have a baby. Woo! And he's here, my biggest fan. And now I'm becoming a therapist while in therapy for the first time. Okay. So now in class, I'm learning all about how to focus on the art process instead of the product. And now my art has become a container, a release. And it's like I'm holding up a mirror and I can finally see myself. And each time I pick up a piece and I put it back together. My therapist at the time tells me I'm doing a great job integrating, which is their speak for like getting it together. And I was trying so hard to think my way out of trauma, and I was still stuck. And years later, I'm leaving California, this important therapist, and my body suddenly reacts. The room starts spinning. I can't stand upright. And I go to every specialist out there, and all the tests come back normal. My body is screaming, and no one can hear it again. And even though I knew a lot academically, my body and my mind continued to function separately. And I spent the next several years trying every trauma treatment out there. Yoga therapy, massage therapy, body therapy, you name it. And after every session, it's still me and my art supplies, trying to make sense of what just happened. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. And I'm sure you can guess what I did next, because it is the only logical thing to do. I get my PhD in art therapy. Right, Mom? She's like, oh my God. And it is then that I begin to fill the gaps of what is missing in my own trauma treatment. And these gaps are filled with art. Because art therapy lets you start wherever the brain is stuck. And healing requires movement between these three places: the body, emotion, and meaning. Trauma freezes that movement, and art restarts it. Humans are wired to create. We've been creating since the dawn of time. And we know that change happens when we engage in the creative process in relation to one another. And evidence supports when art therapy is involved in treatment, people are less likely to drop out. Trauma lives in the body, and art therapy has the exact framework to help us move through it. So it's July in Dallas, and I am with the 10 most burnt out healthcare workers that I could find. And we all saw the news at this time. Frontline workers had it rough. And let me tell you, they all need a hand. And I want to help them, I do. But I also need to collect some interesting data for my research. So no pressure. And so I'm leading this day-long workshop that combines active art making with trauma therapy tapping. And we bring to mind their worst experiences during the pandemic. And I ask everyone to take their oil pastels and show me what this looks like in their blank body maps, like you see here. One person says she can feel her anger in the pressure and tempo of the oil pastel. And we were all there, so maybe you can relate to what you see here. Or maybe you can imagine what your own body map might look like. I then ask everyone to take whatever they notice and draw it on their larger sheet of paper. We then begin our left-right alternating tapping, moving what is stuck from their bodies. And you can visually see the shift in the room, not just in the words that they're saying, but in their bodies and in the images they create. Here are two from the end of the day. They're opening up to being calm, connected, and creative. Two people even compare their process to meditation, which is exactly the feeling we get when we are in creative flow. And after just one day, and lasting up to 3 months, there's a decrease in burnout, PTSD, and body disturbance scores. But more importantly, when we asked everyone What helped the most? They said, the art process. Don't get me wrong. Everyone was exhausted afterwards. They mostly hated it. But despite their complaints, 10 out of 10 would do it all again, and 10 out of 10 would recommend this treatment to a friend. I've done this process myself, and with hundreds of clients since that day. And what I've learned is simple. Art gives the body a voice. And I could have stood up here tonight and told you every bad thing that's ever happened to me. But trauma isn't what happened. It's how it gets stored in the body. And that little girl, me, who was afraid to speak, is here tonight. She's telling her story. She's using her voice. She's no longer afraid because I have her back. Not done. So, thank you. The next time that you all are feeling stuck, take a look at your hands and make bad art. Give it a title. Share it with someone. Years ago, my client dipped her hand in paint and pressed it onto a piece of paper because sometimes healing starts with admitting we all just need a hand.